audio files.
Today we have a special bonus episode.
Why do you always talk like that?
Because I'm stupid. To be honest.
I'm not going to disagree. Anyway. So if it sounds a little bit different, we're just sharing a mic at the moment. Because we're kind of too lazy to get the other one out.
Also, I'm like getting over a cold, so I sound like someone shoved like a million tissues or something.
For some reason, I was like, someone shoved garlic up your nose. I don't know what's where my mind went.
Well, that might help, honestly.
It might, you know.
You never know.
Anyways, today's special because we did a interview with, we're assuming his name is pronounced Bob McGough. It's McGough.
If we're wrong, Bob, feel free to call us out and
we meant
correct
to ask,
us.
but we completely forgot until right after we hung up. So he's the one that wrote the Howard Marsh series, the
Bringing Home the Rain.
Bringing
is
Home the Rain,
one
that's what it
series.
was. Yeah, it's about this Methgician, and he does magic, but he has to do drugs to be able to use the magic. It's what fuels his power. So we've already done this one on the podcast, right? That was
Yes,
B.
we have.
Yeah,
That was letter B of the ABC Challenge.
It was letter B of the ABC Challenge. So yeah, we had an interview with Bob. Absolutely love him, and I hope he comes back to Summerton Book Fest so I can meet him, because you met him and I haven't. But he said that he would love to sell me a book and sign it for me, and I need a book trophy now.
Yeah, I have one and it's signed.
I need one so bad.
I'm better than you.
Oh, well, you know, who isn't? Anyways, here's the interview. My first one, I like to start with where did you get your inspiration? Especially with this one is my favorite and foremost question, probably.
Sure. So I am actually from South Alabama, and I have known a number of people that were similar to Howard Marsh in a lot of ways. I could say that the two main inspirations I would say are there's a podcast a few years back called S-Town that you may be familiar with. And it was about this eccentric man in West Alabama who thought he had potentially uncovered a murder, and it pretty quickly devolves away from that into just a piece about him. He was absolutely fascinating guy. And when I listened to it, I was like, oh my God, I know a guy that is eerily similar to him. I think his name was like John Wayne McLemore or something like that. Like I know a guy eerily similar to that, except he's a crack addict.
It's close.
And, yeah, pretty similar. But it was, they're both similar in that they were, very much ostracized in their rural communities that they lived. They were incredibly smart, eccentric, and both very highly skilled in their respective fields. And the sad thing is, without going into too many spoilers, John Wayne McLemore, that was not a happy story. And so many of the people that I've encountered in my life that are like this, they're not going to have a happy ending. Drug addiction is very likely to kill them. And so my goal in writing this was to kind of write a happy ending to a tale that frequently doesn't have one.
Yeah, well, that's pretty good. Yeah. I so far I've only read the first book, but I really enjoyed it, and I'm very much looking forward to the rest of the series.
Yeah.
Which, speaking of, because you have like 6 books in the series, I believe.
I do.
Which one out of the series is like your favorite?
Okay, so I know the day is coming where I will be accused of not having written my own books, because I routinely forget the names of them, and I also routinely forget the order in which the individual novellas within them came out. So because it's a lot to keep track of, in my defense.
That's fair. Out of 6 books, I can imagine. Yeah.
And so, but there is I don't want to give spoilers because it ruins the joke, but I literally wrote one entire novella based on a pun.
Oh my gosh.
And when you kind of get to the reveal, that chapter is, I believe it's actually titled something along the lines of, wait, is this whole thing just an excuse to make a bad pun? And yes, it was. And it is actually, I think that's my favorite story I will say that it's also at face value, it sounds like my most out there story because it, in theory, involves a sex ghost.
Oh.
So when you get there, just know that a bad joke is coming.
What is the name of the novella?
Oh God, you would ask.
Oh, sorry. I'm really sorry, but I was just gonna write it
Yeah,
down so I can read it later because that sounds
yeah,
something that I would enjoy.
yeah. No, I can tell you in a second. But it escapes me in this moment what the specific title is.
Okay, yeah. Stop thinking about it, and then it'll come to you.
Yeah.
Uh, are you planning on adding more to the Marsh Howard series?
Yes. Oh, and the novella, the book is book 5, Walking the Darkness Down, and the individual novella is Hot Times on the Shores. But yes, no, I am intending to write more. The eventual plan is this is going to be an 18 book series with 3 self-contained 6-book arcs. So the 6 books that are out is the complete first arc,
Okay.
and then there will be a time skip of a few years, and then that will be where the next arc picks up, and then there will be a time skip of a few more years, and that'll be where the last arc picks up.
Okay.
Pretty cool.
That is very cool. Yeah.
Yeah. And what I'm currently writing is in the same world, but they are horror novels that are set in Tuscaloosa, but it's the same world. You may recall from book 1, there's kind of an offhand mention of a guy who burned down a church.
Yes.
Yeah, his mom being the woman who went missing. That guy's cousin is the main character of this horror trilogy, and so that'll be coming out next. And I'm through with book. I've written book 1 and half of book 3, and I'm as of today, I think I'm 8,000 words into book 2.
Okay.
And once those are done, which they'll be done this year, I'll start back writing Howard Marsh novels.
Is the first one of that horror series, is that released yet or not yet?
Not yet. I decided I was going to wait because I basically wanted to have all 3 of them written so that I could make sure that they're all very internally consistent, because there's kind of a lot of moving parts with it.
Yes.
And I also, this is kind of more inside baseball on the business side of writing, but I actually make when I do in-person sales, I actually end up making most of my money from selling omnibus editions of my books. So I kind of wanted to be in a position where I could put those 3 horror novels out fairly close together and then go ahead and bind them into an omnibus edition.
Yeah.
So that I would have that when I'm doing in-person sales.
Is that what Sayla bought and came and showed us?
I believe so.
Okay.
You had one of those books at
Yes.
with someone from
Yeah.
Bookfest. I remember that.
Yeah, a girl came by to our booth multiple times, and one of the times she had one of your books in the hand, and we were drawn to the cover, and she was talking to us about you, and that's when Alyssa came over to meet you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, it was a little bit later, but I was just
Yeah.
like, it was stuck in my head, so I was just like, I gotta go check this out.
Yeah.
She came back, and when she said Methgician, I was sold immediately on the entire book.
Yeah, no, it was you had to cross over the ditch to get over where all the cool kids were. So
Yeah.
but yeah, no, it was that was what she had, was the omnibus edition of books 1, 2, and 3 bound together, and then I have a second omnibus that is books 4, 5, and 6 bound together.
Where can you get those at? Do you have a website or are they online?
You can get them on Amazon.
Okay.
And I sell everything on Amazon for the same price I do in person. The perk to buying it from me in person is I'll sign it for you. But if you buy it on Amazon and I run into you, I'll happily sign them for you.
Okay.
So, but hopefully I'll be at
Speaking of
Summerton
running
Book Fest
into
next
each
year.
other, yeah, I was gonna say Summerton Book Fest are working on picking a date. I don't know if they have one yet, but they were playing with 2 dates in mind. Are you attending this year?
I want to. I will say that was so one thing about me as an author, I'm huge on transparency. I'm very open about my book sales numbers, how much it costs me to put out a book, how my social media grows, things like that. I do monthly recap posts on my blog every month. I just do a ton of stuff like that. So in hopes that other authors will see it and it'll be helpful to them and that they will in turn do the same. But so Summerton Book Festival is actually the most money I've made in a single day selling in person. I sold like over $700 worth of books that day.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, no, it was it was a big day for me. So yes, I would absolutely love to come back. I reached out to them and asked the day that they told me that they were considering. Unfortunately, it conflicts with one of two conventions that I have to do every year. Dragon Con and Multiverse are my two must attend conventions. I do panels at both, and they're kind of they're the best networking events I can go to. So if it's the same weekend, I have to do Multiverse. They're both in Atlanta, but if it does not conflict with Multiverse Con, I will 100% be back at Summerton Book Festival.
Yeah, the 2 dates that they have picked out so far was the 12th and I believe the 26th.
Oh, that's actually not the date that they told me. So it looks like they've changed dates. So yeah, I should be there because Multiverse is the 18th through 20th.
Yeah, I would absolutely love to come by. And, I'm not a book trophy girl, but I need a book trophy. The first one at least.
Yeah. No, I will happily sell you one. But
that would be awesome.
I mean, honestly, I'd give y'all one as thanks for doing the podcast episode on me. So
of course,
that was much appreciated.
Yeah, we were really excited that we got a response. So.
Yeah.
I love doing these kind of things. I do them all the time. So
good.
It's always a lot of fun.
And the Summerton Book Fest, like, honestly, we had a really good time there too. And like, it makes me want to like do a lot more like book festivals and stuff, even if we like aren't even a vendor or anything.
Oh,
we're
just attending.
Just attending because it was a lot of fun.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, Alabama is really starved for that kind of content. Anything book focused. So most of the events I do are in Georgia.
Okay.
My next weekend I'll be in Tennessee for Chattacon, but I don't think I have any events in Alabama until March. Will be my first event in Alabama for the year.
Okay. What's the one in March, if you're allowed to talk about that?
Oh yeah, no. The Alabama Writing Workshop. I'm going to be a presenter at that. So I'll be teaching a class on, I believe, organic marketing and branding, I think is what they asked me to speak on. I have to go check my email, but I'll be doing that in Birmingham on the 15th. And then actually the next day I'll be giving the same presentation in Atlanta at the Atlanta Writing Workshop. It's the same group of people, just two different cities. Yeah.
Well, good luck with both of those.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it'll be a lot of fun.
Speaking of, one of my other questions I had is for anyone who's wanting to write a book, what advice do you have for them? Because we're looking to write a book too, so we just want to know what kind of advice you'd give us or anyone else who's looking to write a book.
So the first thing you need to do is sit down and think about what your goal is. Is your goal just to get your book out there? If that's the case, just do what feels good. If your goal is to make any sort of money at it, and I don't mean like, oh, I'm going to be a full-time writer, because spoiler, I'm not a full-time writer. I mean, technically I am because I'm a technical writer for the state of Alabama, but no, like my fiction is not what pays my bills. And so, but eventually I would like it to be my primary source of income. But so if your goal is, hey, I would actually like to make some money of this as a side hustle, one day becoming a main hustle, really, you've got to start treating it as a part-time job, basically. You got to be pretty committed and you got to realize that whether you're traditionally published or self-published or you're published through like a small press, you are going to have to do the bulk of the marketing. And so having the discipline early on to treat it like a part-time job, because the writing the book is kind of the fun part. The marketing sucks. And so developing the discipline early on is going to really pay dividends when you get to the point where it's like, okay, the book is done. Now we got to market this thing. We got to go scrape up the money to hire an editor or to get a book cover made. So that's my number one piece of advice if you're trying to do it. to make money. If you're doing it just to get your name out there, just to say, hey, I wrote a book, NaNoWriMo is actually a really great experience if you want to go that route. It can be hard, especially if you have a family that you're, I think I listened to the podcast. I think one of y'all mentioned having a kid or something like that. I get it. It's most of the years I was doing NaNoWriMo, I was a single guy, or at most in a relationship with no children. So it was a little bit easier there. But doing something like that to success, one, it kind of shows you, hey, wow, I can really do this thing. I can do something really, really cool. And it kind of, fills your ego a little bit, kind of gives you a boost. But also it writing is a muscle. If you really stretch it, even when you snap back to reality, you will be able to crank out a decent number of words. Every week, month, whatever your goals are. I would say if you are trying to write a book, you need to be putting words on paper every week. This really can't be the kind of thing like, oh, I just didn't have the energy to write on it this month. If you're at that point, you're not really writing a book. You're occasionally jotting down notes. So
yeah,
but
I'm the one that's got 2 kids, and she's the one that does most of the writing. And every once in a while, she's like, "What do you think we should do?" And I'll just throw an idea, and she runs with it.
Yeah,
yeah. But that really works, though. I mean, that
I don't have time to do anything, especially with 2 under 2, because I have a 1-year-old and 2-year-old.
Oh
so
yeah,
she does everything else. So
well,
yeah,
I can't remember. I think it was Good. Well, I remember the book. It was Good Omens, and that's it's Neil Gaiman and Terry Pratchett wrote that. But if you dig into it, really, my understanding is, and I can never remember which one it was, but I think it was like Neil Gaiman really wrote the bulk of that, and then Terry Pratchett just kind of helped out, and bouncing ideas off each other, talking through thorny issues, that kind of stuff. And I may, like I said, I may have that reversed. Maybe Terry Pratchett did most of the writing, and Neil assisted. But that's the thing. That no way is more valid than any other. As long as at the end of the day you wind up with progress on your book, that's what matters. Just define success for yourself. I'm a big proponent for that. Like, everyone, success is going to look different for them. Another thing I would say is, like, give yourself some achievable goals along the way. Like, if your goal is, I want to have a book out, in 5 years, give yourself goals along the way of like, hey, 10,000 words, 25,000 words, 50,000 words. And when you hit that goal, really celebrate it and like give yourself permission to really shout that from the rooftop. And because you did a great thing, you achieved a goal. It's not the end goal, but it is a goal along the way. And it gives you a boost. It takes this enormous task of writing a book and makes it something much more manageable and digestible.
I think that's really good advice in like any aspect of life, pretty much, but especially with books. Yeah, I can see how that would be good.
Yep, I do it all the time. That's another thing. Like, if you go to my website, I do blog posts. Like, I set goals, and then whenever I achieve one, I do a blog post saying, hey, I wanted a goal I had was to get 100 reviews on one of my books, and when I got that, I celebrated it. And and then it's like it can be even weird little things. Like, I had a goal to have someone cosplay as one of my characters, and at Alabama Comic-Con this year in 2023, a guy showed up cosplaying as Howard Marsh. So
my goodness, that's gotta be an amazing feeling.
Yeah, it was fantastic. So I got to celebrate that, and it makes an enormous task feel more manageable and something you can celebrate along the way to give yourself a boost when you really need it.
Well, good. My question kind of goes hand in hand with hers. If there was one thing you could tell a beginner author you, what would it be? Like, when you first began writing.
I mean, really, the best advice I got early on was treat it as a part-time job. It really did make a difference for me. On the craft side of things, I will say that a writing group really helped. And it kind of helped in two ways. One, it made me a better writer, obviously. having someone somewhat objectively take a look at what you submitted and say, hey, this wasn't clear. You did a lot of telling, not showing. Wow, how do you keep putting every comma in the wrong place? Things like that will make you a better writer. It'll harden your skin a little bit, which you need. But
like
the other thing is
criticism then.
Yeah. And make sure you're in the right kind of writing group. The writing group I ran for a long time was really genre fiction. Everyone who was doing it was writing some form of sci-fi or fantasy or horror. But if you're writing a horror novel and everyone in your writing group is writing romance, those are not the right people to be critiquing your work. So keep that in mind. But the other thing is, what I learned pretty early on through fairly early on in my career, I was published by a small press, and it was actually not a great experience. And they actually released a book of mine without editing it. And so what I learned about myself through that and through some other situations is if I'm not confident that what I'm putting out is good, I will not sell it. And if I won't be there to sell it, no one else is going to sell my books. Like no one's going to market my stuff, and I won't market it. Yeah. And I won't market it if I don't feel good about it. And so being in a writing group like that, it can help get you on the pathway to feeling confident in what you've done. Until you start actually getting reviews rolling in from random strangers on the internet. That's when oh, hey, reviews from random strangers were good. So cool. It must be good.
I think random strangers are probably going to be more honest than friends. So I can understand how that would be more meaningful.
Except when you reviewed, there was an episode of our podcast where we just read this fanfic I wrote in high school. And to put it plain and simple, Lydia basically just said it was complete dog.
I might have been very rude about that, but you have to understand.
Oh, it was accurate.
Oh yeah, no, my a longtime friend of mine who he's kind of my go-to brainstorm buddy. That's not my wife. We did a lot of writing when we were younger, not on the same project, but just in adjacent spaces. And he showed us one day his obscure Naruto fan fiction, and we have relentlessly ragged him about how bad that was ever since. So 100% can relate.
Oh my goodness.
He's a really good writer now, but that was not it.
My next questions actually doesn't have to do with writing. It has to do with because you have a podcast, which you told me about when I saw you at the Summerton Book Fest. So my, first two questions is, how long have you been doing the podcast, and what made you start your podcast?
So I actually do several. Well, I've done a number of podcasts over the years. In 2023, I wrapped up one called Southern Fried Fantasy, which was me interviewing Southern authors who write genre fiction set in the South. And I started that one because I don't enjoy reading books that Northerners write that are set in the South in places they've never been, and you can clearly tell.
Gosh, yes. I thought I was the only one who noticed that.
No, it absolutely drives me up the wall. So I kind of wanted to showcase people as hey, these are down South folks writing down South books that are genre fiction. But that one is done. I did 26 interviews, and that was my goal: do a year's worth, putting out an episode every 2 weeks. Finished, done, put it to bed. But my longest running podcast is called Books, Beards, Booze. And it started with just me and a buddy. We thought about doing a YouTube channel. And basically one day I kind of discovered podcasting, or not discovered podcasting. I discovered how accessible it was to podcast. I'd been listening to podcasts. We'd all been listening to podcasts, but it never really clicked for me until I stumbled on something. I don't remember what. I was like, oh, hey, I think we could do this. And so we've been doing that since, oh God. I would say probably 2016 15 or so. We've got like 170 episodes. I will say that's not entirely fair. Oh, he's been doing it that long. But you have to understand that we routinely go on hiatus for very long periods of time. For example, we recorded every episode in person. And when COVID hit, we did not have a way to get together and record. So we basically all of COVID, we were on a break. So like I said, been doing it for a long time, just not every week.
Yeah. What are your long-term plans for your podcast?
Oh God.
Or is it just going as you go?
Yeah, no. We actually ended up adding a third co-host for a while. But she moved away and just announced that she's pregnant. So I suspect that she is not going to be coming back.
Yeah.
We've kind of been on hiatus for a while, waiting on her situation to kind of settle after her move. So I think we'll probably start it back this year. But this is one we had good momentum going forward. Before COVID, we were actually doing pretty good, getting decent listens, but that break over COVID totally killed our momentum and we never got it back. But I just do it because it's fun. I have zero anticipation of ever monetizing it or
us too.
Really,
yeah.
Yeah. So really at this point, I mostly just do it so I can say that I'm a podcaster because it helps me at conventions so that I can talk on panels about podcasting or podcasting related stuff. So I just keep my foot, my toes in the water just so I know what's going on in the space. And then I teach workshops about like how to start a podcast, things like that. And I really enjoy the medium. But at least with that one, I have no long-term plans of any note other than just occasionally put out an episode.
Yeah. Okay.
So.
Well, I usually work 12 hours on Sundays, so I'll probably be checking your podcast out on Sunday.
All right, sounds good. Yeah, it's a hot mess, but we have a lot of fun doing it. So
I think that's kind of what ours is turning into.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. If you don't do something that you're having fun doing it, you'll quickly stop. So
I think we're almost up to 50 episodes now.
Yeah, we almost are at 50.
This is like my only fun time. So as a stay-at-home mama too, I don't do much.
Yeah, I mean, if you just go look up the stats on like how many podcasts don't make it past like 5 episodes, and then after 10 episodes, the fact that y'all got 50 is a really big achievement. So definitely celebrate that.
Oh, we should do that.
Yeah,
y'all should. Y'all should.
Yeah, I don't think we've really celebrated much of anything besides when we like made email and stuff. We were drinking wine, sitting at my kitchen table, setting everything up for the
Yeah. I mean, that's the dream. That's our thing. Is we would pick a different booze and we would just sit there and drink the booze and talk books. Now we're a little older and we don't drink as much. So, but
that's always unfortunate.
yeah. It's for the best. My wife would tell me.
Okay, I have one more question. Are there any other books that you want us to cover on the podcast? Because so far we've only done the first Methgician.
So, how do y'all feel about something that's a little more romance oriented, but there are no happy endings?
Probably good. We'd probably be all over that. Yeah.
Okay. So
we read anything, honestly.
Okay. Well, if in that case, the last book I had come out is called Southern Sawdad. It is, I call it a supernatural Southern Gothic. It's a collection of short stories and novellas that are set in the same world as the Howard Marsh books. But they don't actually feature Howard Marsh beyond one very short, like flash fiction appearance. But I call it like a breakup playlist in book form, because every story in there is about some form of failed romance, usually due to supernatural reasons. So, for example, the main story in there is about a young guy, like a high school kid, who falls in love with a hitchhiking ghost.
Oh.
So
That sounds really cool.
it's angsty, and so I call it my impossible to market book because it features a lot of horror tropes like vampires and ghosts.
We
but
love those.
right, but it's not actually horror, and
Yeah.
it's not really urban fantasy enough for the urban fantasy crowd. And while romance is kind of the unifying theme, most romance readers want happy endings. So it's in this weird nebulous in between space. But if you were going to do another book of mine that wasn't Howard Marsh related, that would be the one, I would say.
Okay.
But outside of that, I know a ton of authors that I'm friends with that I'm sure would love to come on, that I can give you recommendations
Oh, that'd be
whenever
awesome. Yeah.
we're done here. Just there, yeah. I know a lot of folks. So
yeah. So far
they're
you
always up for
are our
stuff.
second author. We did one for Christmas, and we didn't expect it to really go. I don't know. We're weird. We don't like people, but we didn't
Yeah.
expect it to go okay, and it went great. So we decided to try to get more authors. That would help us a lot.
Yeah. No, because the good thing about it is authors will definitely promote it. So, like these, I will end up probably embedding these on my website for folks to come by and check out.
Well, good.
And then in theory, they'll follow it home to the rest of your podcast.
Well, good. That would be great. Yeah, I know that I have been telling all of my friends about the Methgicians.
Well, I
know your
appreciate
books
that.
are on several TBRs at the moment.
I appreciate that. Yeah, it's word of mouth is the number one marketing tool, really. And that's there's kind of two schools of thought on self-publishing, like kind of two paths you can take. And they're not mutually exclusive by any means. Everyone kind of mixes and matches, but broadly speaking, there's you really go all in on the internet side of things. You do tons of, email builders, you're constantly marketing, you're doing paid ads, you're getting involved on every online event you possibly can. You're doing like rapid releases, things like that. That's not really my style. I do a fair bit of online marketing, but it's all organic. I don't pay for ads at this point. But a lot of my, I really get out there, try and get out there as much, like doing stuff like this. Like I'll guesting on podcasts, but especially doing in-person events. And so the more my theory has been, if I can just get to enough word of mouth, I'll hit a break point where it starts to become self-sustaining. And I'm not quite there yet, but I feel like I'm getting closer. I keep a check on Reddit to see like if people have suggested, like recommended my book, and it's steadily ticking upwards on the amount of times that has happened. So word of mouth is my favorite, and it is much appreciated.
Yeah. Well, we wish you all the luck.
Thank you.
We can't wait to read more.
Yeah. Well, and hopefully I'll see y'all in Summerton.
We both already said that we were planning to take off work the minute that they have the date picked out.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, I'm just anxiously waiting for them to announce a date, and then I will add it to my calendar.
All right. Well, we are fixing to run out of time, so I think we'll bid our goodbyes.
Yeah.
Is there any questions you have for us, real quick?
No. Okay. I'm just excited to be here.
Thank you for joining us.
Yes, thank you.
No, thank you for having me.
Again, we want to give a special thanks to Bob for your coming on our podcast and talking to us.
Yeah,
we enjoyed having our conversation with him. Words.
Sorry, we're really giggly tonight. I don't know what's wrong. It's probably because I haven't seen you in like 2 weeks.
Yeah, sounds about right.
Anyways, yeah, so thanks, Bob, for coming on, and can't wait to see you again. And
thanks for the advice, and for
another
book recommendation.
Yes, so excited. And hopefully putting us in touch with other authors for more interviews.
Yes, and if you're a small author out there, feel free to reach out to us because we would love to talk to you.
So we have an email at biblioaudiopod@gmail.com. And
our Instagram is biblioaudiopodcast. And on top of that, we have a website.
Yes.
It's biblioaudiopod.com. There's not too much on there. There's a couple blog posts.
We're working on it.
And there's a shop on there. There's only one item for sale. But
Also working on that.
No, it's a work in progress. But you could check it out if you'd like to, because it's there.
Mm-hmm. All right, well, thank you for joining us.
And have a good night.
Bye.
Bye.